Here in Hollywood, one sees a lot of women of a certain age who've obviously had a face job, and one does detect there's a sort of grin. The skin is drawn back.
It's poor workmanship. And as there is a Michelangelo and a Leonardo da Vinci, there are different individuals doing plastic surgery, and I like to think that my patients don't have those telltale signs of cosmetic surgery.
Is there anything you can't do on this table, cosmetically?
Well, yes. You know, I can't make anybody taller. I can't really logically increase the size of the male organ, although it's been asked more than once, joking in a very serious manner.
Don't you sometimes feel a bit like Dr. Frankenstein?
I like to think that I feel a little bit more like closer to God than Frankenstein. I like that analogy a lot better. I don't like Dr. Frankenstein at all.
He decided that he would fix my chin. He would just add a little tiny silicone insert in there that went in through the mouth, just a tiny little snip in there, and it would go right in, and it would make the chin come out a little. It would make the cheekbones look better, and then he pinned back the ears, and for doing that, I was able to have this done, which is my favorite. Yes, this is my very favorite.
Now, how different are your breasts now than were they? Just bigger?
Oh, much. I mean, 4 times as big. The sizes are small, petite, medium, large, and extra large. I have the mediums, and I think that they're plenty large enough. I love them very much.
That's about, what, £1 pound on each side, isn't it, you're carrying around?
Oh, no, not quite £1 pound. I don't know for sure what it is.
Do you know how much you've got there?
No, I couldn't weigh them. I really don't know how much they are. All I know is I love them, and that they've helped me just feel more secure with myself, with my whole being. My whole life has changed because of this
operation. They don't destroy your sense of balance, do they?
Oh, no, I've learned to cope with them.
Yeah, the point is, you see, when you had the wrong eyes, the wrong ears, the wrong chin, and the wrong breasts, you got your husband.
Well, I was lucky, I guess. Maybe when he looked at me, he figured that after he married me, he could make these slight adjustments and I would look better. And first of all, what he always says is that he'll never have to divorce me because he can change me. He can change me every year. I'm married to a Ponce de Leon, to my own Ponce de Leon, my own fountain of youth. I can be changed. He'll never have to divorce me. He can just change me every year, every few years.
That was a few years ago, back in 1973. Today in Los Angeles, where nothing's permanent and 2 out of every 3 marriages end in divorce, Kurt and Kathy Wagner have so far kept theirs together and rolling. So, to consider the success of an improving knife operated within the family, I went back for a close look at a West Coast marriage in the 80s, and this couple who have everything they could ever want in life, materially. Yet even without everyday worries, their Californian lifestyle doesn't always run smoothly. Kurt Wagner was born in Vienna in 1934, son of a Jewish father, a Catholic mother who escaped from Hitler and came to Brooklyn when he was 4. He became a doctor, a plastic surgeon. Then his first wife died and left him with 2 daughters, and 13 years ago, he married Kathy. She was a school teacher born in 1941 in Culver City here in California. They've adopted a boy.
Oh, isn't it heavenly to share every scheme with you?
Kurt and Kathy still live where first we met, at Sherman Oaks in the San Fernando Valley, where their Californian sun still underlines any imperfection, illuminates any harmony.
Thank you.
Oh, isn't it heavenly to go hand in glove with you, to be so romantically and frantically in love with you?
Kurt's dog's named after his hero, Napoleon.
To be with you.
I'll do it. No, I don't want to hold you. I'm here to swim. I'm not here to fool around.
Okay. I love my husband, and I love him very dearly, and it was a hard fight to get him. It wasn't an easy struggle to get him. And
How did you do it?
I did it with all the...
Without a single operation?
No, I had that one single operation, had the eyes. It was hard, and I had a lot of ladies to fight in between, because women were all around the place wanting to get him.
You said to me that Kurt will never divorce me because he can always change me.
That was good, that was good. You said that all those years ago, and it's the truth.
Now, does it look as though that surgery might not have worked?
No, surgery is always a good answer. And that's why my husband has this great saying, if your face is unbecoming to you, you should be coming to me. I think it's the most fabulous saying. I mean, I think it's absolutely terrific.
The man with all the answers drives over the mountaintop every day, heading for his surgery.
A friend of mine says that she finds it impossible to stay happily married in Beverly Hills because there's so much movement of beautiful and available people.
Marriage is perhaps in trouble. People know their rights. Women no longer want to be subservient. They're looking for equality. They're right up there saying, I want what's mine. And of course in California, it's very well defined. Half is hers.
I just spent a couple of days with Peter Sellers and his wife Lynn Frederick, and they kept saying how happy they were. And a couple of days later, he'd gone to London and they were separating. This couldn't be what's going to happen to me with the Wagners, could it?
I think that any fool who stays married because of community property deserves whatever he would get, which would be a life of unhappiness. Men here seem to be sort of constipated when it comes to emotional release. And as such, big boys don't cry, big boys don't laugh, big boys don't do anything but brag about how many women they've knocked off, or how long it is, or how strong it is, or how fast they can run, or so on and so forth.
Since last we met, Kurt Wagner's become one of the best known and richest of America's 2,000 cosmetic surgeons who cater to the craving for rejuvenation. That national drive towards the knife started here in Beverly Hills, where looking young's the most important social security, and Kurt's endlessly operating under glass, where great beauties are made, not born.
Hold on for 2 seconds.
Californians have decided it's just not possible to enjoy the good life if your cheeks wobble when you walk. So today, desperate to win in the youth game, just plain folks are having facelifts. In this craze for instant self-improvement, you can fix up a quick operation, which is tax-deductible, and after a couple of hours starring on closed circuit in the recovery room, totter off home to put your new face about. Following the purposeful submission of those presidential wives, the unusually firm chins of rejuvenated politicians, such surgery is a badge of sophistication, not vanity.
Just a second.
The men who wield the improving knives are society's latest darlings, appearing in the gossip columns, rubbing reshaped noses with the famous.
Well, okay, if I have nothing to worry about, then I'll talk to you later. I have to go and save a life.
Keep young and beautiful. It's your duty to be beautiful. Keep young and beautiful if you want to be loved. Don't fail to do your stuff with a little powder and a puff. Keep young and beautiful if you want to be loved. If you're wise, exercise all that fat off. Take it off of here, off of there. When you're seen anywhere with your hat off, have a Marcel wave in your hair.
Plastic surgery is a marvelous tool for as far as it goes, but it's not the total weapon.
But here it seems to be almost everybody's weapon. This is the city of dreams. This is the city of showbiz.
Well, I would say this, that plastic surgery is an illusion. It is part of show business. And matter of fact, plastic surgery is show business. And if I may, I'll show you just what I'm talking about. Behind these louvers, something is taking place which may be, insignificant to some, significant to others. There's a young, aspiring actress who had a scar created from an accident when she was 12 years old, who now has difficulty in getting work, and she's undergoing what we call a scar revision, which will enable her to get more gainful employment.
Who are you turning away?
I turn away people who come in with pictures of Elizabeth Taylor.
And say, make me like this.
Yes, or Clint Eastwood. I turn away people who hope to change their lives dramatically. I want my husband back. I want my boyfriend back. I can't get a job. I know I could be a foreign agent if I looked more like Sean Connery.
I remember you telling me you'd had cosmetic surgery yourself. What did you have done? You had your hair...
I had hair transplants, and I had my eyes done.
And
I had my chin done a long time ago, yes.
Now, is there anything else on the drawing board at the moment?
Not right now.
You're not going towards anything else?
No, not really. Matter of fact, it doesn't seem as important as it perhaps did a few years ago. Perhaps I'm more secure within myself. I don't know. I don't discount the fact that one day I'll have some more cosmetic surgery, because for me it's a way of life. I don't know exactly what it is. I would assume perhaps in 10 or 15 years a facelift. But I don't know. I really don't know. And really right now it's not a problem.
He's kept his face in such a beautiful way, and I don't know if you noticed or not, but he has all that hair that's on there now.
All that hair?
8 years worth of transplants. That's all growing.
It's
and that
grown
really,
up.
It shows that it really works.
Wow, that
And
foliage.
he has the permanent now, which shows it even off to a much nicer degree.
Well, that frizzy, those curls.
The curls, right.
Uh-huh.
And it's okay. I think it's very nice. It's the thing that American men are doing now. And I think it's very, very good.
No, but he had his chin done ages ago, but he's got
yes.
a beard, so it doesn't matter. That was lost.
Right.
It's like your ears, it's lost.
Right.
But the eyes look good, too.
The eyes look dynamite. Remember, my husband has all these very special ladies who come in to see him, and I must always be one step ahead. And so one day I looked in the mirror and I saw a bit of the sagging here, and I decided, why not? After all, I'm married to the best in the world, so I might as well take advantage of it and always be that one step ahead. And so I asked him if he would go ahead and do a facelift on me. It was done about a year ago, and I mean, you cannot see the scars. It's really incredible.
There's no more restructure coming up?
No.
Yet?
No. Maybe when I'm in my 50s.
Uh-huh.
Then I'll think about it again, but I'll just wait and see.
But you had so many operations, I got the feeling you enjoyed it almost, you know.
It's the nicest thing in the whole world.
It can't be.
It is, because first of all...
That's a neurosis if you enjoy being operated on.
No, if you enjoy looking in the mirror and looking nice and rested, then that's a good way to make your world be.
So are you doing this restructuring for yourself or for Kurt?
For me.
Not for Kurt?
Me first. Well, he's second, and I care so much about him, but I care first for me. Because I need to look good. God forbid someday some beautiful lady might come into his office and he might run off with her or something. I never know. You don't know what's going to happen in your life.
After all these years of marriage, do you still see him as a romantic Viennese lover or as a man with an Oedipus complex who thinks he's Napoleon?
I see him as both those qualities. He's very romantic. He's very special. He loves to take me to romantic places to eat and to drink. And that's something that's wonderful. I think that women ought to realize that sometimes they have to dress up for the men and sometimes have very exotic outfits. I don't believe in this masochistic thing, this MS thing that's starting to happen here in the United States. And I'm sure it must be kind of going into England now and in through Europe.
Sadomasochism.
Yes. I don't totally believe in all that, but I think it isn't a bad thing for a woman to dress up in a very sexy outfit, or maybe if she wants to have the boots on and the garter belt and the whip in her hand, just to look that part. I've never tied him up to the bed yet. Maybe when my new bed comes upstairs, but I don't know.
You've got the mirror upstairs anyway.
Who knows? Who knows? I think it's good for women to be very exciting and to look very devastatingly terrific. And even when your husband comes home, you shouldn't be dressed like a dowdy lady. You should always try to look your nicest, a little bit of makeup on and a nice kind of dress. That's not a hard thing to do.
But these are these ladies who say you ought to greet your husband, open the door in a French negligee.
Good idea. Why not?
Uh-huh.
Why not? He's had a very tough day. He's the one who's had to go out there and make the world work.
This is a 53-year-old man whose eyelids droop. So what we're going to do is we're going to arch up his eyebrows within his hairline so it won't be noticeable within his eyebrow hair. And then we're going to take out the extra skin and fat of his upper and lower lids.
See, in this town, it seems you're really out of step if you haven't had cosmetic surgery.
People are more or less anxious to look better, you know. I ask people, what is it that you expect from the surgery? And if they can't give me a good answer, I won't consider operating on them. For instance, if a woman is getting a divorce and she has a facelift, she's not going to get her husband back. In fact, she may not want him back. People tend to blame their external appearance for failure in certain situations. And very frequently, after you've taken away their excuse, they can't deal with that either, because all of a sudden they can't say, my life doesn't work because I'm ugly. Because what happens when they're not ugly and their life still doesn't work? Cosmetic surgery is just holding the clock to a certain point. It just can't bring miracles.
Yes, I used to have thought you suffer more than almost any other doctor from patients who feel the end product hasn't lived up to their expectations.
That's why it's important to choose the right patient. And one of the things that I've learned is, in order to be successful as a plastic surgeon, you only need two things. You need patience with patients, and you need patience with patients. And that's all.
Leo? 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 Surgery is over.
It seems you do have to suffer to be beautiful here if you're going to have this surgery.
Yes, I suffer every 6 weeks when they put the bleach on my head. Yes, I suffer a little.
Well, that's a minor. What about, I mean, this dermabrasion? I mean, that
None of
must
those
be...
things hurt. None of those things hurt. You're sound asleep and you do not feel the pain.
What are they doing?
Don't.
They're taking, this is the acid that takes what? The top layer of skin off?
First 2 layers.
2 layers of skin?
First 2 layers. But it's not painful. There is no pain connected.
But you must
with these
come out
things.
looking like a hunk of raw beef.
And in the beginning you do. You need 2 weeks to recover and to really look all right. And then you must wear a very light coating of makeup.
But I mean, the fact that you had it done, when I look at you now, the thought that your face must have looked as though you'd had third-degree burns.
Well, just my son said it looked like a truck ran over my face, but it didn't hurt. And it was a nice, good, nice time. I just stayed in bed and I relaxed and I was waited upon and I found it a most enjoyable time. Shall I put on blue or shall I use lavender? Which color shall I put on the bottom of my eye?
Lavender.
Lavender, okay. Remember, every single one of those women who come into him and whose faces he changes, whose bodies he changes, they love him. He is Dr. God to them. And that's fine. I like that. I think that's important. He needs that. It's more stroking for him. It's more good feelings for him. I give what I can here at home, and then he gets that other bit there at the office, and it makes him a much more complete, super kind of person.
He certainly gets a lot at the office, whatever you give at her.
Oh, that's true.
In this corridor of mirrors, you've created it's a sort of family.
It is a family. It's based primarily on a tribal type of a relationship where I am nominally and actually the patriarch.
Most of them seem to regard you as a putative husband.
To some extent, I don't know if it's husband. I would say it's a cross between a father and some kind of a masculine figure. I would say that Maria, Laurie, Robin, Vicky, Alex, Nancy, I'd say anyone would snap me up tomorrow. And if they wouldn't, they ought to have their heads examined.
And this was once a closet. And we've changed it now and put the French doors, made it so that you could come out to a nice patio now to see the nice trees and all the beautiful things out here that we never could see before. We just had it all closed off before. We found an old spiral staircase from a Viennese castle.
Come on.
It's a Scottish castle.
No, it's Viennese.
Maybe an
That's what
Irish
the man
castle.
said. Maybe Viennese.
Maybe
girl.
a Jewish castle.
Well, the entire bedroom was just totally transformed from a very small, hodgy-podgy place into now a very nice, bright and alive and mirrored wonderland. Kurtie calls it his oasis now. When we're out, he says, let's go home to our oasis.
I get the feeling from these faces that he's making that he's not altogether thrilled with all these changes.
Oh, no, I think that he is. I think he likes them. Don't you, darling?
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because the hodgy-podge bathroom and bedroom was originally of my wife's design. I must admit she's gotten a lot better, and I like her taste a lot more now, and I do I do tell you this, that
That was her hodgepodge period. Now,
Yes,
now she's in
that's
a
right.
mirror
Yes,
period.
now-
No, actually, she's not in a mirror period. It's me. I like mirrors. I always have liked mirrors.
So you're content with whatever she's occupying her mind, you'll go along with. Is that what you're saying?
For the most part, yes.
Thank you, darling.
Now, that's proof. You got that before witnesses.
I said for the most part.
It must be very hard to stay happily married here because there are so many attractive, available, lonely ladies about.
That's true for an awful lot of ladies, I think. But remember, I tried to say about how I like to stay one step ahead. And I just believe, first of all, you're seeing me working out here. You must work out. You must wear bright colors. I don't go to the market without my eyelashes on. I mean, I just care about always looking nice and good. If you tell your husband also how wonderful he is and how good he looks and how you're so pleased that he's helping to make your life better for you and your children and your animals and your homes and things, and if you keep yourself a nice, pretty, cozy kind of person to be around, he can still look at all those other beautiful ladies they're about, but they don't always have such great things to talk about either. And there is something that happens as you get older. You do learn a lot more about life, and you do have a lot more to talk about. I can be very tired, and I can be sad and depressed too, but
If you're
on the
tired,
whole,
I mean, you might just relax and be natural, as it were, and then that might be a disappointment for him.
no, I'm always nice. I mean, I think I was born being nice. I don't know. I like to be nice. I have fun being nice.
I mean, after you've had all the operations and that sort of thing, you feel more of a winner, do you?
Oh,
When you
of
come out
course,
with
of
bigger bosoms
course.
and bigger eyes and...
Yes, you see life better. You feel life better. Everything is better.
Through the knife, huh?
Not just the knife. That's just an accompaniment that
That's
makes
tidying
life better.
things up a bit.
Yeah, right.
I would have thought that he's looking... I mean, he knows what you look like, and he's done it himself, really, hasn't he?
Of course, I wouldn't have anyone else touch me.
So it's no surprise to him how your breasts look, because he made them.
Right, and he didn't even want to do it. I'm the one that wanted him to. Now that he's done them, he loves them, same as I do.
Does he?
Yes.
Come on, Napoleon, come on.
There's an impermanence here. It's not only an impermanence in houses, it's an impermanence in relationships.
Okay. People are looking. People are searching for something. What it is, we're not clear because nobody has ever really written a primer that's been accepted as to what the purpose of life is. All I know is we condone change here. We don't condemn anybody. No one gets stoned, so to speak, for having multiple relationships. As a matter of fact, Hollywood, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, if you will, is the capital of make-believe. Hey, come here. Oh, here, this is my baby. My baby lets me take him out of the water. Come on. That one is the most expensive, this one. It's worth about $1,000. The most expensive koi, I think, at auction sold for $67,000 for one fish. But you have to understand that these fish live up to 80 or 100 years, and they have a litter, and the litter can be $5,000 or $10,000.
People come here from all over the world. As soon as they get here and as soon as they get affluent, they seem to develop unhappiness.
Some do, I would think.
Discontent. Affluence breeds discontent, it seems.
I don't think you can always say that. I'm sure there are many problems connected with it, but it all depends on the people. They can choose to have that unhappiness, or they can choose to make their lives work.
I mean, there must be more psychiatrists and more therapists to the square inch here than anywhere else in the world.
Oh, I'm not sure about that, but at least it's right up there if
Right,
it isn't
they're
number
thriving,
one.
yes, they're thriving, but they're also helping people, which is the best part.
Exactly, but it seems when you arrive at the end of the rainbow, when you haven't got to worry about where the rent money is coming from or paying the grocery bill, then you look around for other things to worry about.
Well, that's true. I would say that if nothing else, a man is a problem-solving animal. And part of the things that make people go is to have problems to solve. And if there are no problems, we tend to create problems. One of the things that troubled me greatly was that I was so discontented with my existence.
You enjoy me more now.
Oh, for certainly. Of course, that goes without saying.
But you solve this by going to lie on a couch for a bit.
Well, at least I got some more equipment to help solve it. I don't say that it's completely solved. I don't know if it ever will be.
Nothing is ever.
But at least I know that I can deal with it myself and alter it to some extent.
Your analyst has given you the tools to rationalize your discontent. It hasn't stopped you being discontent, but now you know, or you think you know, why you're discontent.
No, I don't agree with that. I'm discontent at times. And I know that I am discontent, and I don't think that I'm discontent. I know when I'm discontent, and I know when I'm happy. I don't have this confusion of who I am and what am I and where am I going. I know what kind of a fool I am, and I'm quite satisfied with it because, after all, I'm just in a ship of fools for a temporary time.
You the captain or the cabin boy?
I think I'm the co-pilot.
So, after 13 married years in Los Angeles, the surgeon and the schoolteacher, Kurt and Kathy Wagner, are still together in a society where some people jump on and off the marriage merry-go-round 5 or 6 times. Their hometown, birthplace of crazes and trends, is not normally a thoughtful or reflective society. And in so outgoing a city, it's not always easy to live a life that's totally balanced. In this capital of broken marriages, certain tensions sent the Wagners towards California's traditional and instant answer to any personal or marriage problem, into analysis and counseling and group therapy.
Hey, how about this?
It goes with your outfit, actually.
Ta-da! They've been here all night.
That's a way to skate.
On the boulevard at Venice, California, an open-air operating theatre.
Now, Kurt, this is a competition.
A more simple form of improving surgery. Buy the earrings, get your ears pierced free.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it.
He's going to do it, it's right.
Kurt can't watch, you see.
I can't watch.
He can't watch.
Does it hurt?
No?
No? Painless?
Don't worry about it, Kurt. You don't have to worry. She didn't feel any pain. It'll be all right,
I'm so glad. And the main benefit that I received from going to the marriage counselor was that I saw things from Kathy's point of view.
This suggests there was a lack of communication between you, if it only came out when there was a referee there.
Well, absolutely. And I don't know, I know a lot of married people, and I don't know very many that really let it all hang out, at least not in my experience. My wife should be my best friend. That's, if I say that there's a goal in life, it should be that your wife is your best friend.
And is she?
Well, she's much closer to being my best friend now than she was 4 or 5 years ago.
I went to a man that had been told that was very good and very kind and that he would help me in my world. And in the beginning, when I was having trouble with certain things that I didn't choose to acknowledge in my life.
In your marriage?
In my marriage and in my life, about myself. He was very good and he told me things that really helped me. But then after a while, it got so that all he wanted to hear about were the sexual exploits of my life. And you know, I don't have that very many to talk about, and so I found myself making up stories about football stories and football heroes and cinema heroes and all these kinds of things. And
it's like a child going to confession.
Yes, and this man was getting very excited about it, and they're supposed to just sit very quietly in the background and they're supposed to write these things down, and all of a sudden I heard him getting very excited and there was panting and his voice was changing and he was having trouble breathing and all these kinds of things, and I decided I shouldn't be coming and talking to this man, that I had to make up things for him, and I'm paying all this money to make up stories, and it was all untruths, and it was
like
all
a dirty telephone call.
Yes, and it wasn't good,
Huh.
and I wasn't happy about it, and so I decided that I didn't want to keep it in my life.
So you got rid of him, and then what?
And then I went on to a lady because someone had told me that one of my very dear girlfriends had said, maybe if I would go and talk with a woman, then I might have a better feeling about all this. Right. But she wasn't much better. It was, in fact, terrible. Her place was very dirty, and she was kind of dirty, and it was a very uncleanly kind of place, and I didn't like it either.
So the last professional help was from a marriage guidance counsellor, right? Now, what was he telling you?
It's a she. She's a very special kind of lady who was just saying that women have the power to make things work in their lives if they will take the time to look and see what's happening around them and to show nice, soft kinds of ways. I keep talking about this soft kind of gentle ways because I feel the ladies have forgotten that we were made to be soft and gentle and cuddly and cozy and nice.
Are you saying that inside you're really a toughie, but you're pretending to be gentle on the outside?
No, I'm not saying that I'm really so tough. I have learned to become tough because you have to be a bit tough to make the life work for you the way that it should. But I am saying that you still can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. And those are the things that women have forgotten about. Let them just see me sitting here in this nice surroundings, and maybe they'll be able to score better. On that night, they'll find some bloke in some bar or some men, and you know, if they use a little bit of softness, maybe we'll get them a better night, and eventually they'll be able to get that man that they really wanted.
I went through a critical period in my life. I became 40 years old. And 40, for many men, I would say, is a time of reflection, to look at yourself and to decide what is it that it's all about. What have I accomplished? What are my goals? What are my aims in life? And one morning I was getting up and I looked out the window and I thought to myself, you know, it wouldn't be so bad if I were dead, because then I wouldn't have to make any decisions. And I thought for a moment, my goodness, you're such an up guy. To even think that, there must be something terribly wrong. I went to a psychological seminar, which you may or may not be familiar with, which is called Earhart Seminar Training. And within a couple of weeks, it became obvious to me that I was responsible for many of the problems that I had, that nobody was doing it to me.
And est is a sort of humiliation
It's a kind
therapy.
of a humiliation therapy. It's a really compendium of many disciplines. And I have been in analysis for over 4.5 years. I don't know if you're ever really through, but I've gotten most of the answers that I've wanted to.
What could you tell your psychiatrist that you wouldn't tell me?
Well, I wouldn't tell you about my masturbation complexes, my dreams. It's none of your business. It's private.
You were finding yourself, were you?
Yes, I would think so.
Well, how had you lost yourself?
Because I don't know, I was confused as to what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be, what I wanted to accomplish. There seemed to be striving for something that didn't exist, and I didn't really know.
You were rich, you enjoyed
Relatively, yes.
You enjoyed your profession. Where did the self-doubts come from?
It was just a question that I had never really gotten straight in my mind who I was. I assumed the identity that people wanted me to play. I assumed a role of being a good son, a good husband, a good surgeon. I played for the audience. I never really played for myself. Now, more or less, everybody wants approval. But if you can't get inner approval, you really don't have any approval at all. Incidentally, plastic surgery was another form of seeking approval. I wanted to make people perfect so that they would love me. Everybody wants to be loved. I became much more aware of my shortcomings as a husband. I became much more aware of my failings, being too critical, expecting too much. And of course, Kathy was also swept up by her doubt, and who was she, and what was she going to do, and where was she going to be, and she didn't want to be Mrs. Dr. Wagner, although the Germans call it Frau Doktor, and it's okay. It isn't okay anymore. So she had to, and she is still to a certain extent struggling to find herself, because she wants to make her own identity felt. I understand it. I don't always approve of some of the things that she does, but she's entitled to, as an individual, to...
But I mean, did analysis make you a more satisfactory husband, do you think? Or just make you aware of your inadequacies?
You have to ask Kathy. I fancy that I'm a much more satisfactory human being.
The best part of all about Est was that you learned how to communicate with each other. And that's something that I believe women and men have not always known how to do.
Now, how did it affect your relationship with Kurt?
It made it much better.
In what way?
I lost some of the feelings that the women in the business world have.
What you mean is you started to get stroppy and bloody-minded with him?
A bit. Not totally, but a bit. And what happened was that all of a sudden I found out I am really a very special kind of person.
You could give him hell?
I could give him hell, but you could give him hell in a very nice way, and that all of a sudden the words could start popping out. Words that I'd always been afraid to use before.
I get the feeling that Kurt did himself a bad turn when he took you to Est, didn't he?
He did in a way, because all of a sudden he had a different wife now. He had a wife who believed in fabulous things and who believed that she had a real purpose in the world now, and that she could go out there and be a dynamite kind of person. And
what you were saying was, the hell with you, I don't need you. Is that what you were saying?
No, that's not the truth, because a woman needs a man. A man is special.
Some man.
No, she should have her man if she can have him.
Listen, I can understand what you got out of it. What did Kurt get out of it? Except a stroppy wife.
I was never a stroppy wife. I don't like that expression. He found out that he was really a very super being also. That's the nice thing about Est.
But did he find out he could do without you as well?
No, he found out he
ways?
needed to have me.
Oh.
He found that his life could work better if he had me along with him.
Yeah.
To hold his hand and to walk along life together.
You were having cosmetic surgery to be a princess, and then you found out you could be a princess through your mind.
Well, if you have a combination of the both, it's fabulous. And I mean, there is no power on earth that can take away those two things working together.
What do you reckon you spent on your therapy up to date?
Oh, I would say around $50,000, give or take. But it's far less than the Rolls Royce that I bought, and it will give me a lot more mileage.
I have a communication level that's totally different than when I was a young girl from Culver City who didn't have much money, who now has 3 Rolls Royces and beautiful furs and beautiful clothes.
But despite the costly and commonplace crutch of analysis, the endless Beverly Hills merry-go-round grinds on.
Your sister's been married how many times?
My sister will be married on June 2nd 5 times.
The 5th marriage?
5th time. It's going to be her 5th and best, I just know it.
And you've only been married 3 times, so you've hardly started, really.
My mother's expecting 5. I am going to stop with 3. I don't want to fulfill her dream, I guess.
You're holding at 3.
Yes, but your husband is special. He has this harem. All of Terry's girlfriends, all are right.
Really?
He's
Yes,
special.
really.
Right.
Are you in love with him?
No,
She's
I
one
really
of the
like him
harem,
a lot. I'm so happy with my own, it doesn't make any difference. I don't have eyes for anyone else, Alan.
She keeps telling me this rubbish, and she expects me to believe it.
I'm telling the truth.
She expects me to believe it.
I do mean it. Lizzie, he makes my world wonderful.
The marriage round here is quite extraordinary, though, isn't it? I mean, I keep meeting people who've been married 5 and 6 times. Now, I don't think I've met people who've been married that number of times in my life.
I know, you're right. But it's because it's such an easy life here.
I would have thought for a woman this is a bad town to be growing old in, really, because in America, age is the worst thing that can happen to anyone.
Yes, but see, we always have...
We always have my husband's constantly young. How can you say? This is the greatest joy for us. We don't have to, I told you. He gets tired of us, he just changes us. We never grow old.
I'm going to break this nice lady's nose with an electric saw. She's a 21-year-old lady whose nose goes to the right. So we're going to straighten her nose out and make her look a little bit nicer aesthetically. It's a regular nose job. It'd be nice if it worked. It really sounds a lot worse than it is. There are many ways of doing it. Some people take a hammer and chisel and, like the shoemaker, go tap, 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 tap. And I sort of think I'm a construction worker. This is a much more humane way than punching somebody in the nose.
It's quite a hard thing to watch for someone who doesn't share your
Enthusiasm, I agree. And I'm surprised you haven't fallen over on me yet.
Your patients must be tremendously dependent upon you, I would have thought. Is there not a very close attachment built up?
It's called transference, yes. Some, depending on how emotionally involved they are with their operation, some are more dependent than others.
If women are supposed to fall in love with their psychiatrist, do they also fall in love with their plastic surgeon?
And probably their gynecologist as well.
Sounds like a rather full love life to me.
Well, it sounds like a full life.
I just think it's a bit do you see that?
A Ferrari.
That is the car that someday I want. I have to make enough money to buy it, though. Kurt once said he would buy me one, but...
A Ferrari?
Yes. I think they're the most special-looking car. Can you just feel those lines? Ooh, I can just see myself driving down the street.
But you couldn't get in that if you had the extra large, could you?
No. Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
You'd already been married once when you married Kathy, so what were you looking for the second time around? Was it a mother for your children, or a malleable blonde doll, or someone to share your ambitions?
Yes, yes. Probably a combination of the three. I have the distinct impression that at that time, the prime reason for me remarrying relatively rapidly was that I didn't want to be alone. She was a very good-looking woman, great possibilities. She loved the children, and the children loved her, and she was really crazy about me. And I liked her a great deal.
So you married a girl who really treated you like a master and a teacher and an oracle, who wanted to be molded and shown. What have you got now, after 13 years?
Well, now I have a lady who has gone through some molding of her own, who eventually had to come to grips with the fact that she had to discover who she was or wasn't. I think Kathy is going through a transition period in her life where, after all, she's not 25 anymore. And I would say that there are a lot of women who go through this stage if they've gotten to where they've gotten because they're very good looking. When they start to see the twilight of their sexual attractiveness as far as they're concerned, perhaps not as far as I'm concerned, on the contrary, they start to doubt the future. Really, I've done something with Kathy that I think is truly difficult to do, and that is I took a woman who was very pretty and I made her beautiful.
I mean, it suggests that the improving knife was not enough.
No, it isn't enough. It can't be enough.
Now you're so laid back, can you be unfaithful to Kathy, and would you worry if she was unfaithful to you?
I'm sure I could do practically anything that I wanted to do.
Okay, maybe your husband wants to leave for a while, or wants to go away, or has to know what other ladies are like, or has to feel other things. That's all right, but they'll come back. And when they come back, they're stronger, and they're more aware of all the good things that you've been there providing for them all along. If you're totally perfect all the time, then you get boring. And I'll never be boring. If you can be a little bit jumbled and jivey and crazy there, I think that's kind of good too. And if you kind of have a little zap and a little zim and a little fight and a little yuckiness in there, that's okay too.
Now, Kathy has changed physically. You're changing mentally. She became more beautiful. You've become more serene. So what's going wrong?
There's nothing really that's going wrong. It's a question of transition. Let's say it's retooling. It's really a retooling of a relationship. Let me sum it up. I think the ideal relationship between a man and a woman is one in which you're protected like a child and feel as secure as a child, but treated like an adult. Now that's difficult to come by. Everybody likes the warmth of the hearth, and yet everybody likes to feel that if they wanted to, they could just run through the open meadow.
I sometimes wish that he might drink a little bit or smoke a little grass or do a little something with me sometimes, but...
You don't ever feel you want to escape and shake him up a bit?
Yeah, I have that feeling, but see, I can do that because he can come home one night and I can just not be all so totally so super glad to see him, and then he can wonder, I wonder what she did today, or I wonder this, or I wonder that, or the same with me. I can wonder what really is happening every day of his life over there.
You just want to shake the bars a bit, yeah?
Yeah, but I don't think that's so bad. That's just part of life. That's part of being a real person.
See, Kathy once said to me, he'll never have to divorce me because he can always change me.
Yes, she said that to me too. But that's not true, because I can't change her. I can change her physically, but only she can change herself.
So how would you feel if your husband did walk out on you?
I think I would be devastated. Terribly devastated. I wouldn't like it at all. But I would also, on the other hand, know that now, because of the feelings that I have about myself, and because of where I am now in my lifetime, and because of the psychology that I've encountered, and because of the feelings that I'm experiencing every day in my world now, I could make it also.
She has to change herself. Right now I would say that if I even attempt to change her, there's a tremendous amount of resistance.
Do you want to stay married to Kathy?
At this particular juncture, I have no desire not to be married to Kathy or anybody else. Right today, I have no desire not to be married.
I mean, you once told me, I remember, that you'd just as soon be married to her mother.
Yes, that's true. Her mother has a characteristic now that I perceive as being desirable in a male-female relationship.
Which is?
Not getting so much flack about things that I do or not do.
Your mother, who I met 6 years ago,
yes,
seems to be something like a referee in your marriage. Is she still holding that role?
She is. She idolizes my husband, and sometimes I get very angry because when we have arguments, she takes his side. I feel she should be taking my side.
Kathy has to change and has to, perhaps for her own well-being, as I perceive it, after all, I know her as well as anybody, I imagine, perhaps has to go a little deeper into herself and come to grips with certain things, both in her present and her past, that she's probably refused to deal with. But she may and she may not. And I'll have to think about those things as they come up and as they annoy me or don't annoy me.
How would you fare without Kathy?
I must tell you that I feel that I'm relatively self-sufficient. And the trouble with my life until recently was I was always looking for my good friend outside of me. But my good friend is me. I'm my own best friend. And you want to know something? That makes my life worthwhile.
This has got something to do with self-satisfaction?
I would think so.
If I could say what's real, I'd be getting a divorce tomorrow because I hate this man I'm living with. God damn it, he's a goddamn pain in the ass. Thinks he's Dr. God. Breaks my nails, disco dancing with me. I'm a much better roller skater than he is, but God forbid I should let him know that.